At a time when the Congress's losing streak seemed unstoppable, Captain Amrinder Singh brought it back to power in Punjab, and he's the Chief Minister of Punjab for the second time now. But as he also keeps saying during the campaign and also later, that for the last time, he's Chief Minister for the last time. He's gone on saying that this is his last stint in power and that after this he will bow out. So that, as we all know, is an extremely unusual thing to say. In Indian politics, no politician retires. You've just completed the 100-day mark. Do you think that the onus of change is especially on you this time, given that, as you said, this is your last stint in power, given that you've many times said that this is Punjab's last chance, and also the fact that with the Aam Aadmi Party making this into a triangular contest and doing so well in 2004, maybe not as well in 2017, the message has gone out that the mainstream political parties of Punjab have been put on notice, that business as usual or politics as usual won't do. Do you think that message is there with you, and that you, in your governance, how do you plan to act on it?
Well, you asked me two questions in one. First, let me tell you about the Aam Aadmi Party. Aam Aadmi Party, we all believed, I think my colleagues, myself, that it would be a challenge after the Delhi elections. But I think Punjabis are very perceptive, and Delhi is a Punjabi city. And what was happening here was going down to everyone in Punjab. And I don't think anyone wanted to experiment with a new force who they knew nothing about and who was making a mess of Delhi. So they I think, opted out. Because when I thought that, we have 70% who are under the age of 40, that's our target area which may go against us. In reality, when the votes were counted, we got the majority of those. So even the youth happened to come to us.
During the campaign, I remember you called Kejriwal the sneaky little fellow.
Yeah.
Captain Saab, there is a question here. The Aam Aadmi Party certainly it did not do as well as its own hype suggested that it would, or even many journalists said that it would. But it is your principal opposition party in the assembly right now. Do you think there is an institutional question here? We often criticize the BJP when it talks of a Congress Mukt Bharat because we accuse it of a lack of respect for the opposition. Do you think there is a certain give and take between government and opposition and a mutual respect that is missing in Punjab right now between you and the AAP?
No, I don't take AAP seriously. I'll tell you why, as a force in the assembly, because they don't know anything. They're all first-timers. Apart from one, Mr. Khera, who had to be expelled by the Speaker for disobedience. The rest were all first-timers. So they really don't know parliamentary procedure. And all I was telling the Speaker, I said, you should run a class for these first-termers to learn how to have a call attention, how to have other parliamentary procedures should be implemented. So I hope that happens, and let them learn. They must learn. I mean, today they may not be in a position. Maybe 10 years hence they may be in a position. But as far as a party is concerned, you must look at Punjab's history. If you see where did the Aam Aadmi MLAs come from? None are from Doaba, very few, because Doaba has got a much higher rate of income with the people, because most of them, in fact, every second house in Philor or Phagwada and all are all sitting abroad. Similarly, Maja, similarly West Malwa, Moga and all, they're all there. Southern Punjab has nobody abroad. And this is the portion which in the 50s, where the tenancy movement started. In the 60s, the Naxal movement started. In the 70s, the Khalistan movement started. And that is the area where AAM has targeted, and they took some. So that area is so primitive, so backward. That's where all our suicides are taking place. I've had 80 suicides in the last 100 days. In that, and in the last government, in 10 years, they've had 7,000 suicides, the farmers. And this is the area which has to be developed. That's where we are concentrating. and to try and get these people out of the misery that they are in. But that is where it is, because people are looking to a new government, a new change, a new party, new thought process, so that they can hope that we've tried the Congress, we've tried the Akalis, we've tried the BJP, we've tried everybody, let's give these chaps a chance and see if they can do something for us. That is the only reason why they have succeeded. But I think if we are able to, what we are planning to do in that area, I hope we'll be able to get them back into the mainstream, and that anger and that hurt should disappear.
Captain Saab, you just spoke of farmer suicides happening in such large numbers. You have implemented you fulfilled one of your promises in your manifesto, which is the farm loan waiver. But there is already some kind of criticism. There are two kinds of criticism, actually. One is that it is a partial waiver, that it is up to 2 lakhs for up to 5 acres, and that it leaves out the landless labor, it leaves out non-institutional loans. But a more serious criticism is that maybe the waiver is not enough, and that the Punjab farmers' problems are largely to do with the fact that the Green Revolution's gains have plateaued, that it's stagnant, that you need crop diversification, you need agri-industry.
Well, firstly, let me tell you, if I have to do the entire waiver, I need 69,000 crores, and I just don't have it. That's one. Even now, all we've done is we've provided 1,500 crores in our budget, and we are going to take over the loan of these farmers, and then with the banks, like an industry can go and do a settlement, we'll do a settlement. The government with the banks, and as long as that farmer's out. Now, it's very difficult for us to manage the entire thing for 2 reasons. One, nationalized banks are not in our purview, and we have to take them up on a case-to-case basis and hope to get some assurance from here. I have taken this matter up with the finance minister. They say the government of India can do nothing to help. So maybe in the banks, we talk bank to bank and try and get it out. But the biggest amount of loan is with the commission agents. And the trouble with the commission agents is they all give money off the record, off the books. So we don't know how to reconcile those figures. Nobody is willing to commit. Neither is the farmer willing to commit how much he's given, and neither is the commission agent willing to commit how much he's given to any farmer. So that is our big problem. Other than that, you have said what can we do. What we are looking at is increasing the production in terms of the value of the crop per acre. Now today we are saying that we've got these are about 5 acres. But you have one more generation, it'll come to 2.5. Then two children. So then we are in dire straits. So we have to now look for alternative sources of crop. Second is GM crops. I'm very keen on GM crops. It's a controversial subject. People don't want it to happen. But I think the way the population of this country is growing, you've got to have more production. And take maize, for instance. If you bring GM maize in, it will raise our crop, the production per acre from 200 to 300%.
Another very important promise that you made in your campaign and in your manifesto was the war on drugs. And you promised that you would break the back of the whole drug menace in 4 weeks. In retrospect, do you think you were a little ambitious in setting just a target of 4 weeks? No. Do you think you've managed to do something?
I think we've broken the back. I think you can... it's difficult to assess. It's not catching so many people. We've got about 4,000 people in prison, narcotics cases, and about 3,700 in prison. That is not what the objective should be. Objective is to stop drug trade. And these are all, they are not, we haven't got any of the big fish yet. We'll get them. They won't get away from us. But what is interesting is that it's succeeding, that when we took over, it was 1,200 rupees to 1,500 rupees a gram heroin. Now it is over 5,000 to 6,000. So that means that we are strangling the flow. And that is a positive thing. Where the problem arises is what we're not tackling. One is what comes from Afghanistan, your heroin or opium and all that. Now they pass through the Pakistani Rangers, they pass through our BSF, they pass through our second line, which is police. And let me tell you, the BSF and the Pakistani Rangers seem to have a collusion of sorts. Because I mentioned this to the last Home Minister when I was Chief Minister, Mr. Advani, and I told him that you should change these battalions around every 1 year. I know it will be an expensive proposition, but if you want to break the nexus between the Rangers and these chaps, because it's very lucrative. There's a lot of money in this business. He told me he'd look at it, but then he said it's going to be too expensive, we can't do it. So that is one where they're coming. You see in the papers, they've caught 20 kilos today or 10 kilos today, but how much have they let through? We don't know that. That's one. Secondly, we don't have a national drug policy. Today, Madhya Pradesh can grow it and sell it, Rajasthan can grow it and sell it, and Punjab becomes your market. So these are the things that something there has to be a national. I spoke to Vajpayee ji, I spoke to Dr. Manmohan Singh ji also on this, that let's have a drug policy, otherwise we won't be able to stop this. But states won't agree because they get a lot of revenue out of it.